In the far reaches of the Orion expanse, across worlds where stars burned blue and civilizations rose and fell like tides, one name was whispered with a mixture of terror and awe: Kaelen Vos. The galaxy knew him as the most feared assassin ever to exist. Governments denied hiring him, but their enemies died anyway. Crime syndicates claimed they could control him, but their leaders eventually disappeared. Entire military units had tried to capture him. None had succeeded. For 20 years, Kaelen Vos had never failed a contract. Not once. Until the day he refused to pull the trigger. The contract arrived on a quiet station orbiting the dying star of Kestra 9. Kaelen sat alone in a dim corner of a bar that smelled faintly of coolant and burned circuitry. The place was nearly empty except for a few cargo pilots and smugglers passing through the fringe systems. A small device on the table blinked. Incoming encrypted transmission. Kaelen tapped it once. A holographic file opened above the table. A face appeared, young, calm, unfamiliar. A human woman. That alone was unusual. Humans had only been part of the Galactic Assembly for about 40 years. Compared to ancient species like the Ketheri or the Var Dominion, humanity was still considered primitive. But the payment attached to the contract was anything but primitive. Kaelen studied the numbers. It was enough to buy an entire moon. He leaned back slightly. Interesting. A second line appeared beneath the target profile. Target: Dr. Ilara Miran. Location: Orbital Research Station Aurora 7. Status: terminate immediately. Kaelen examined the file further. Age: 29. Species: human. Occupation: astrophysicist. No military training. No political influence. No criminal ties. Just a scientist. Kaelen frowned slightly. He had eliminated warlords, tyrants, and pirate kings. He had ended conflicts before they could ignite. But killing a civilian scientist? It wasn't unheard of. Knowledge could be more dangerous than weapons. Still, something about the contract felt strange. Then a final line appeared. Client: classified. Galactic High Authority. Kaelen's eyes narrowed. The High Authority never hired assassins. They were the ones who hunted them. Yet here they were paying an absurd fortune for one kill. Kaelen closed the file. Whatever Dr. Ilara Miran had discovered, someone powerful wanted it erased. He finished his drink, stood, and left the bar without a word. Another contract. Another death. Simple. At least that's what he thought. Aurora 7 floated silently in orbit around a violet gas giant. From the outside, it looked like any other research station: spinning rings, antenna clusters, docking ports. But security was far heavier than expected. Automated turrets. Military patrol drones. Encrypted communication arrays. Kaelen watched from the shadows of a nearby asteroid. Overprotective for a scientist, he muttered quietly. Still, it wasn't a problem. Nothing ever was. His stealth vessel glided forward like a ghost. Within minutes, he had bypassed the station's sensors and latched onto a maintenance port. No alarms. No resistance. Kaelen slipped inside. The station corridors were bright, sterile, and quiet. Too quiet. His boots made almost no sound as he moved through the ventilation shafts and service passages. The target was in Laboratory Deck 3. He reached a narrow observation vent and looked down into the room. Dr. Ilara Miran stood beside a large holographic display filled with swirling star maps. She looked nothing like the kind of person who caused galaxy-level panic. She was young, tired, and very human. Dark hair tied back in a messy knot. Sleeves rolled up. Data pads scattered everywhere. She was talking to herself quietly while adjusting a projection of several star systems. Kaelen raised his rifle slowly. Target acquired. Distance: 12 meters.
Clear shot.
One trigger pull. Contract complete. His finger rested lightly on the trigger. Then she said something. Not to anyone else. Just to herself. If I'm right, they'll try to stop me before I can send it.
Cade paused.
She sighed and rubbed her eyes. Doesn't matter, she continued quietly. Someone out there deserves to know the truth. Truth? Cade's finger remained still. He listened. Dr. Mirren tapped a console and a new hologram appeared, an enormous cluster of stars connected by glowing lines. This isn't a natural collapse, she said softly. Someone is harvesting stars. Cade frowned. Harvesting stars? Impossible. Even the most advanced civilizations couldn't drain stars fast enough to collapse entire regions of space. Yet the map clearly showed something terrifying. Entire systems going dark. Not naturally. Systematically. She leaned closer to the projection. The High Authority knows, she whispered. They've been hiding it for decades. Cade's eyes narrowed. That explained the contract. Dr. Mirren wasn't just a scientist. She had discovered something the most powerful government in the galaxy wanted buried.
Permanently.
She sat down slowly. If this data reaches Earth, or any independent system, it could start a war. Cade studied her silently. She wasn't afraid for herself. She was afraid of what the truth might cause. A scientist standing alone against the most powerful authority in the galaxy. His rifle remained steady, but he didn't fire. Instead, he lowered it slightly. Something unfamiliar stirred in the back of his mind. A memory. Long ago, before he became an assassin, before the galaxy feared his name, he had been human once. Still was.
Technically.
But 20 years of killing had buried that part of him. Until now. Dr. Mirren turned suddenly toward the vent. Cade froze. For a moment, he thought she had seen him. But instead, she simply stared at the star map. Someone will come for me, she said quietly. They always do. Cade slowly stood. He stepped away from the vent and made a decision that would shock the entire galaxy. 3 hours later, the High Authority Command fleet arrived at Aurora 7. 30 warships surrounded the station. A message transmitted across every channel. Assassin Cade Viral, the commander said coldly. We know you are inside. Confirm termination of the target. Silence filled the station. Then Cade activated the comm system. His voice echoed across the fleet. No, the command bridge went still. Repeat that, the commander demanded. I said no. You accepted the contract. I did. And yet the target still lives. Cade's voice remained calm. Yes. The commander's tone darkened. You realize the consequences of breaking our agreement? Cade looked at Dr. Mirren across the laboratory. She stared at him in stunned silence. He turned back to the comm system. Yes, he said. I do. Then explain yourself. Cade paused for a moment. Then he spoke the words that would be repeated across the galaxy for decades. You didn't hire me to kill a scientist. You hired me to kill the truth. Silence followed. The commander's voice returned colder than before. You were paid to complete a mission. Cade picked up his rifle again, but not to aim at Dr. Mirren. Instead, he turned toward the window overlooking space, at the massive fleet waiting outside. No, he said quietly. I was paid to prove something. What? Cade smiled faintly. That even the most feared assassin in the galaxy is still human. Then he cut the transmission. The first warship fired seconds later. Aurora 7 shook violently. Dr. Mirren grabbed the console. You just started a war, she shouted. Cade shrugged slightly. Probably. More explosions rocked the station. Emergency alarms screamed through the corridors. She stared at him. Why would you do this? You don't even know me. Cade checked his rifle calmly. You're wrong. She blinked. I know exactly who you are. A scientist who chose the truth over survival. He opened the door to the corridor. And that makes you more dangerous than any weapon I've ever faced. Another blast shook the station. Hull breaches began forming across several decks. Dr. Mirren grabbed a data core. The data needs to reach Earth. Cade nodded. Then let's make sure it does. Outside the station, 30 warships prepared to destroy them both. Inside, the galaxy's deadliest assassin walked beside a human scientist toward a stolen escape shuttle. For the first time in 20 years, Cade Viral had chosen to protect a life instead of taking one. And somewhere across the stars, civilizations would soon learn a terrifying truth. The High Authority had been hiding the slow death of the galaxy. But thanks to one stubborn scientist, and one assassin who refused to pull the trigger, the truth was finally about to spread. No one in the fleet understood why the most feared killer in existence had betrayed them. But the answer was simple. Humanity had a strange reputation among the stars. They were reckless, defiant, impossible to control, and sometimes even their monsters remembered what it meant to be human. Because the galaxy had feared Cade Viral for 20 years.
But now?
Now they would fear something far worse. A human who had chosen a side.